Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the show. It's episode 157. It's a Halloween episode. I probably should have re-recorded that opening in a minor key to suit this episode, but I didn't plan that far enough in advance, so sorry about that. But today I'm going to have some fun. While this is your show that's a source for all things timber, trees, construction, today we're stepping into the shadows. It's Halloween. I'm bringing you a special episode, Roots of Terror. I'm going to dive into haunted forests, cursed lumber, ghostly legends from around the world, because sometimes the wood you build with has a story, and sometimes that story is terrifying. Okay, I can't keep that up. I'm gonna crack myself up. So grab a flashlight, let's shine some light. Oh, that was a terrible pun, sorry. Sharpen your axe, whatever. Let's explore the myths, the legends, the folklore, all the spooky tales that have haunted the lumber yards for centuries. I think first, let's start in Wales. There's a 4,000 to 5,000 year old yew here called the Llangollen Llew, and my Welsh is terrible, so I may have mispronounced that. It's in a quiet churchyard in St. Dignan's Church, on the village churchyard where this tree has stood well before there was ever a church there. It was likely the site for pagan worship before Christianity ever moved to Britain, and local legend says that every Halloween, a spirit called Anglistor speaks from the branches, naming those who will die in the coming year. Yikes. Now, this tree is listed as a heritage tree in Wales. Based on its size and shape, it's about 4,000 to 5,000 years old. And the reason we can't be more specific than that is yew tends to hollow itself out and decay from the inside out, like a lot of trees, but this one in particular. So we really can't count the growth rings. So typical of much older trees, that core is a void. So we don't quite know. We're basing it on size and shape. But really, the hardness of yew is about 15-20 foot-pounds. It's a lovely carving wood, but it's really known for bows. It's a fantastic bow wood with high bending strength and a great overall strength. Yew trees, though, they've long symbolized death and immortality because they live so flippin' long. Their wood is dense, but toxic. Ancient and toxic. That sounds like a Halloween story right there. Perfect for longbows and ghost stories. So this tree doesn't just stand in a church and mark graves, it foretells them. Next, I'm going to head to New England, where an apple tree grew blood red fruit after a murder beneath its branches. In the mid-1700s, there was a Franklin, Massachusetts farmer named Micah Rood. I don't know much about him other than he hated the French because his father was killed by them during the French and Indian War. As the war was still raging, a foreigner, a peddler, came into his farm. Rood believed this man was a French spy. Because of this, and due to his hatred of the French, he murdered him, killed him right there under an apple tree on his farm. Next year, that apple tree's blossoms were red instead of white. More disturbingly, though, the fruit of this tree had changed, and there was a red streak running through it, a blood red streak running through the center of the apple's flesh. Now, as these strange apples arrived, so did a letter from friends of the peddler asking if anybody had seen him. Now, this letter revealed that he was actually German, not French. So Micah, consumed by guilt over the awful thing he had done, he hanged himself from that same, now cursed, apple tree. The story of that bleeding apple tree has been told for more than 200 years in and around Franklin, Massachusetts. There was a real Micah Rood who lived in what is modern-day Franklin in the late 1600s, early 1700s, and he did in fact have a farm. Whether he was guilty of the killing a German/French spy, we don't really know. But what we do know is there is a Mike apple variety today that does in fact have red flecks or red specks through it. So Micah rude, maybe that's where the Mike apple comes from. It's hard to say. It's just as possible that a different farmer developed the variety, and we don't know. But apples streaked with red through the flesh. I've seen many red streaks through apple wood as I've turned it. It's a hard wood, like most fruit woods, with very tight, fine grain. Hardness is 1730. It's way up there. Due to the primary purpose of the apple tree being its fruit, most all we woodworkers really see is pruned branches to create more apples. Certainly the distance off folks, they took advantage of this. Where they got their apple wood, I don't know, but they made a really great sweet saw. Well, an apple wood is usually sweet and wholesome, but in this case, it's more of a vessel for vengeance. Heading a little further south, Basking Ridge, New Jersey, and the Devil's Tree. It is an oak that stands in a field all by itself. I'm sure you've seen many images of lone trees like this, especially when the leaves taken away. But the locals say it's a portal to hell. The tree stays warm even in the winter. Locals say that if you approach the tree in the darkness, you'll be chased by a black Ford pickup truck with its headlights. And as you run away from the tree, suddenly the headlights disappear. Supposedly, this is the sentinel that guards the portal to hell at the base of the tree. The snow won't touch it. Several people have reported that when they touched the tree themselves, their hands came away black, and it took hours to clean the blackness off their hands. Those who try to cut it down, they meet misfortune. Axe scars are visible in several places around the trunk of the tree, and actually the officials in the local Bernards Township have wrapped the base in a chain link fence, citing a way to curb vandalism. Now, we all know that oak has a high tannin content, and that stains iron fasteners, which could account possibly for the stained hands. We all know oak is strong, often the benchmark for other woods, but this oak in particular, it's cursed. Let's cross the pond to merry old England, to the chained oak. One night, the Earl of Shrewsbury was traveling through the village of Alton on his way home to Alton Towers, his residence. Without warning, an old woman suddenly appeared and asked for a coin. She wasn't bothering him, but he wasn't to be bothered by her, and he shooed her away and moved on. That donation would have been of little consequence to a wealthy earl. Well, this made her mad. This made her really mad. And she told him that his family would forever be cursed. And the tree that she was standing under at the time, she said, every time a branch falls off this tree, someone in your family will die. So that night, the Earl's like, whatever, he went to bed, fat, dumb, and happy. A fierce storm raged outside, and it tore a single branch from that oak tree. Sure enough, the same night, a member of the Earl's family mysteriously died. When the Earl awoke and learned this tragic news, he fully believed the old woman was legit. And he went out and he bound the tree in chains to prevent any branches from falling ever again. And to this day, the oak still remains surrounded in chains. But it also happens to be at the center of the Alton Towers theme park, and the tree is the focus of the Hex ride in the park. The rusty chains, well, they're starting to fall apart themselves, and it turns out that the chains actually accelerated the decay of the oak, but the chains also are serving to hold up parts of the oak. And as one of those chains broke recently due to rust, a large branch cracked and fell away. No one died. Yet. That oak still stands, wrapped in iron, holding back fate. Moving over to Europe, the elder tree mother. Well, really in Britain as well, but mostly across Scandinavia and Northern Europe, the elder trees are said to house a spirit, the elder mother. Cut her wood without permission and she will haunt you. Furniture made from elder has been blamed for ghostly apparitions. Of course, in my Magic Woods episode, don't forget the powerful magical properties of Elder, and for Harry Potter fans, the infamous Elder Wand. But let's look beyond folklore. When you add elder branches to a fire, oftentimes the fire goes out due to the high moisture content trapped in the inner wood by the incredibly hard outer layers of cambium and bark. But if you're able to receive the blessing of the Elder Tree Mother, Dryad she's known to be, perhaps you can make something beautiful from the wood. And many woodwind instruments rely upon the tonal nature and high polish you can get from Elder. It's not just soft wood, it's sacred and sometimes vengeful. Going further east to Japan, the willow. Willows whisper in the wind and in ghost stories. In China, they're said to lure in travelers, beckoning them off the road to their doom. In Japan, however, they're the backdrop of the yuri, or ghosts of people who have died a violent death. Sometimes these spirits even haunt the tree and make their branches thrash about. Now, over in England, the willow is said to uproot and follow you under the influence of witchcraft. The flexible wood, their mournful shape, all of these make perfect tales of sorrow and spirits. Ironically, though, the same cultures that have this lore of hauntedness and wickedness have the opposite lore of healing and caring from the willow. This may even be stronger due to the fact that the salix genius that willow rolls up under is at the heart of modern day aspirin, a salicylic acid. So I don't know. Is it haunted? Is it caring? Best to stay on its good side. Now we go down under to the ghost gum trees of Australia. This one looks kind of benign in the summer sunshine. It's white bark reflecting, but in the moonlight, the tree is said to grow. The pale-barked eucalyptus variant glows under the moonlight, and Aboriginal lore says spirits live in the trees. Campers report shimmering figures near the branches. And this whiteness comes from a powdery substance on the bark where the tree has evolved to reflect sunlight and heat. But because of that, just touching the ghost gum takes those spirits with you in the powder on your hands. This has led to legions and generations of lore about the tree being cursed. Any of you have had the misfortune to work with this, or frankly most Australian woods, probably feel cursed anyway by the hardness and the interlocked grain. The ghost gum, however, it isn't just a name, it's a warning. A little bit further west and north, we move to Africa, to everyone's favorite Disney tree, the baobab tree, called the tree of life. Very positive, right? But most cultures in Africa fear these as homes for spirits. They're also known as the upside down tree because the gods were angry at these proud baobab trees, and they ripped them out of the earth and they turned them and shoved them back in upside down. That's what you get for being too proud. In Zambia, they're known as the Kondamwali, or maiden eaters. When the tree became jealous of 4 beautiful young women, it swallowed them whole. Look at that swollen trunk and you can understand maybe where that lore came from. Cut one of these trees down and misfortune will definitely follow. In reality, the tree is known to have very fibrous, very soft core, supported by the outer sapwood and the bark that is quite rigid. So when you fell a baobab tree, it's extremely dangerous. Often that hollow core is said to hide spirits that will burst free when the tree is sawn. So imagine the weight of this massive tree as you're sawing through it, and you cut through one side of that hard, rigid core and your hard, rigid outer into that soft core, and all it's left is the back section of rigidity, and that tree essentially buckles and bursts, and this soft, gooey stuff comes out. Yeah, you might think that spirits just burst out of that tree. Their massive trunks and ancient age make them natural mausoleums. Maybe leave them alone. Soft wood on the inside, strong curse on the outside. Now I move over to India. The haunted peepal tree. Sacred by day. Believe me, the Indians revere this tree, but haunted by night. Known as the sacred fig, the tree is revered and seen as giving and wise. But man, is it twisted. And in the darkness, yeah, you're going to have a very different story. In Hinduism, absolutely revered, but after dark, it's said to house ghosts. Science knows that the tree produces massive amounts of CO2 after dark during a normal gas exchange. You can see strong lenticels in the bark where this gas exchange occurs. But people who sleep beneath the peepal tree, they see ghosts. And they have blurred vision, and they make bad decisions, and misfortune falls them. Well, an excessive amount of CO2 is going to blur your vision. It's going to cloud your judgment. So maybe that's science. I don't know. The wood's certainly never used in construction because of the lore, because it's so sacred. But it's not just sacred. It's spooky. Crossing over to the Philippines. The enchanted balete tree. The balete trees are homes to kapre, which are tree demons, tikbalang, which are demon horses, and a bunch of other spirits. They're essentially banyans. There's a bunch of different things in the banyan area, but the balete is a banyan tree. So they're known for their strangler fig branches and those hanging vines. Well, these twisted strangler figs hang down and they sway in the breeze and make them look alive. But those aerial roots, they dangle to the ground and then take root and become new trunks. And they form this woven dark core that anyone would think would house spirits and an evil darkness where maybe an unsuspecting young Jedi might stumble upon the dark vision of his father. I don't know where Dagobah was filmed, but it sure looked like banyan trees. Cutting one down, though, you might just bring that spirit home with you. Even today, people who pass the balete tree say, tabi tabi po, which basically means, excuse me, ma'am, or excuse me, sir, just in case. Just be respectful of that tree. Now we come to the cosmic ash tree, Yggdrasil, of Norse mythology. The tree is said to connect all 9 realms and hold them in its branches, as well as the souls of the dead from all 9 realms. So think Marvel movie and Midgard and Asgard and the Frost Giant Land. I can't remember what that's called. But this tree is filled with lore, like a dragon is known to gnaw on its root, and sacred squirrels carry messages across the 9 realms that are cradled in its branches, running up and down the branches, sending messages back and forth. So we don't just have, what's his name, Idris Elba holding a big sword sending us back and forth. There's little sacred squirrels. Maybe that's where Marvel's Squirrel Girl came from. I'm not really sure. But it is said that Odin hung from the branches of Yggdrasil in order to gain wisdom. And in fact, Yggdrasil, if I'm pronouncing that right, is derived from, it basically translates to Odin's horse, as he was seen to ride the tree during these thinking sessions. Now, Ashwood is strong, very strong, sacred in this case. And in this tale, it's a bridge to the afterlife. Before we wrap up, let's head to the Hudson Valley, home of one of America's most iconic ghost stories, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. You know the tale: Ichabod Crane, schoolmaster, etc., and the Headless Horseman, and a midnight ride through haunted woods. It's a great tale. Whether you've seen, what's his name, Johnny Depp, and that's an Elfman movie, isn't it? I don't remember. Or, the classic Disney animated. We all know the story. But really, it comes back to Major Andre's tree. So Sleepy Hollow, New York, Tarrytown, New York. Washington Irving, who wrote The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, describes a massive, gnarled tulip poplar standing in the middle of the road. The locals called it Major Andre's tree, named after the British spy that was captured beneath its branches during the Revolutionary War. The tree is said to groan in the wind, and the villagers whispered of ghostly sights and mournful cries near it. As Ichabod Crane approached the tree, he mistook a pale scar on the bark for a ghostly figure, proof that even the wood itself seemed haunted. Now, tulip poplar, well, I mean, it's prized for its light, stable lumber, right? Go to any Home Depot, you're going to find it in molding form. But this tree, this one in particular, this was left untouched, feared, respected, and it eventually was felled by lightning. Now, imagine building with that wood. Would the walls whisper Andre's last words to you? So if you've seen Elfman did the soundtrack. Tim Burton was the director of Sleepy Hollow. If you've seen Tim Burton's Sleepy Hollow, you'll remember the Tree of the Dead, this twisted, bleeding tree that served served as a way to capture the spirits of the legend. Well, that tree doesn't just witness horror, it's become the source of that horror. So what can I say, folks? There are a lot of lores around trees, spooky trees, and you might want to be careful which tree you cut down.
Stay back, I got a chainsaw.
So that will do it for me, folks. Go buy some lumber this Halloween season if you dare. Look up the legends and the lore of the lumber you're buying, and maybe you've got a fun story, and maybe you'll think twice about what you build with it before you bring it into your house and invite the curse upon yourself. Till next time.